the stand. Now he runs. He produces a magic trick. He pulls out another one. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is 15 out of 10 on the incredible meter. What a player. What an entertainer. Give him the medal. Give him the Delier medal.
Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast, here to wrap up all that was in round 6 of the NRL Telstra Premiership season. We're going to waste no time. We're jumping straight into it. The first game of the round, the Dolphins defeated the Penrith Panthers 30-12. Look, here we are again. This is the fifth loss in a row for the Penrith Panthers, and I feel like every single week I have said, and I think every other sort of podcast and media out there has said, oh, they'll get it right. You know, it says the Penrith Panthers, they will come good and they'll be sweet for finals. And I'm not ready to write them off yet. I still think that they will come good, and I still think they'll give finals a fair shake. And, you know, if they make it to finals, we know that the class that they have. The problem I am seeing with them now, and we will get into the game itself, don't you worry, Dolphins fans. But the worry with them now is I don't see a world where they can make the top 4. Like, I still think they make top 8. But, you know, history suggests if you're not making that top 4, you can't win a premiership. And I think, you know, now that they've dropped these games, they're going to have to start winning very, very soon. And that includes over the origin period where they lose all their good players. And that means if they drop more games there, they're going to be forced to back up their origin players who have previously, you know, earned a rest and earned a reprieve. They're going to be playing through that. They're going to be tired. There's not going to be chances that Ivan Cleary can give his players a week off and let them rest, because they just need to win every game to make top 4, in my opinion. Now, it can probably still happen because the competition is so close, I think, across sort of the rest of the park. You know, I think there's a very clear number 1 team, which is the Storm. I think at the moment there's a very clear number 17 team, which is the Eels. But everywhere in between that, you know, you have your better teams, you have your worst teams, but they can win at any given point. So it could still be a very even competition across the rest of it. And the Panthers could sneak their way into the top 4. But for me, I don't really see that happening now, especially when we keep sitting here and waiting and thinking something's going to change. And at the moment, nothing is. Like in this game, for instance, I thought they started really well. I thought they stripped back and played a territory game of footy. You know, Nathan Cleary was just kicking early and backing the Panthers defense and getting the boys to get around him, and we'll play this very smart high completion rate and go about it from there. And from the early onset, I'm like, okay, there's something here. You know, Hammer scored very early in the game, but besides that, I'm like, they've got a chance here. I like how they're playing. And then it all fell apart. It really, really did. I mean, the Dolphins, we'll get to them, but their game plan in this one was excellent. But yeah, I'm worried about this Panthers team all of a sudden, because there are individuals that are not playing well. But I don't know if the Penrith Panthers now have the depth like they used to actually be able to change those players. Isaac Tungo, for instance. You know, we made a big post about him. We gave him a rap on the podcast last year for the grand final. You know, we thought all throughout the season he was really poor in defense and he deserved to be dropped. But then the big game came along and he made like 26 tackles, 0 missed, and he was incredible. In this game and this season in particular in general, he's doing absolutely nothing out there. His defense is absolutely horrendous. And they keep picking him because we know of his ability. You know, when he first came in, he was one of the better centers in the comp from the outset, from his debut. But it's gone downhill ever since. And I don't know what they've got to be able to swap him up. You know, maybe when Brian Toto comes back, Tungo can go out. You move Alamotti back to the centers. But Alamotti isn't fantastic in the centers. Casey McLean, the other center in this one, he was, you know, called out on a few different occasions as well. I don't know what options they actually have to shore this up. So until they get their defense right, I'm just really, really worried about the Panthers. We know their attack can come, but another game like 30 points conceded is just, it's outrageous. It's almost triple the amount, like triple what the Panthers were conceding, like the average points they conceded in a game last year. And it's to the Dolphins who before, I mean, you know, they got the win before, like the win last week, but they were winless for 5 rounds of this season. And here they are coming in and beating the Panthers. So it's just a very big worry. In terms of standout players for the Panthers, however, look, there weren't too many. I do think, Nathan Cleary was quite good. You can say that and people might go, oh, yeah, but, they lost 12-30. Absolutely, they did. I don't think there was much more Cleary could have done. He just I'm going to pull up the stats. I reckon he touched the ball 100 times. There's got to be 150, 23 runs for 157 meters from your halfback. He just kept going at it. Is there a receipts stat to show me how many times he actually had the ball? He touched the ball 80 times. 80 receipts. Keep in mind, Luke Summerton, the hooker, who touches it every single play almost, had 69. Nathan Cleary touched it 80 times. He tried, and it's not like he had a poor performance at all. I thought he defended well for the most part. He kicked well. As I said, there was a few of those kicks. There was a very, very classy kick on the fourth tackle where he just kicked it right down to the corner and got the Dolphins working off their line. And that's how they should be playing. He also came up with that, the deft little dab off the boot for Casey McLean to score, which was really, really good when you consider how deep into the line and how fast, the pace at which he was playing at and how far he dug into the line to be able to get a very soft touch like that off the boot to get a grubber kick in and score a try is insane. I thought Nathan Cleary was really good. Unfortunately, there's just guys that aren't getting around him at the moment, and it's very, very un-Panthers-like. So in terms of other standouts, Isaiah Yeo, you can always just go back to their main men, and that's maybe where I'm worried the most. Because their main men are still playing well, why aren't people getting around them? What's going wrong? I'm not necessarily seeing a lack of effort from a lot of the players. I think a lot of the players are still trying, but nothing's clicking into place. Like Blaze Talangi, for instance, I thought he just kept going in this game, just kept making runs. He had a few errors, sure, but I liked the way he was running the football as much as he could. I think the Dolphins did a really good job at shutting defense down. As I said, we will get to them and talk about them and give them their reps, so just woo up. But Isaiah Yeo in this one, 20 runs, 171 meters out there, 51 tackles for 2 missed. He tried. Lindsay Smith had his moments of trying. Moments. He tried all game. Moses Leota had good moments. It's just, I don't know what there is to say. Tom Jenkins, I thought, had an indifferent game. He had, I feel like he had a couple errors again in this one, as did most of the outside backs, but found himself a couple of line breaks, kept running the footy. And Dylan Edwards, 31 runs for 249 meters and 9 tackle breaks from him. So there's your main three, your Dylan Edwards, your Isaiah Yeo, your Nathan Cleary. They're all going at the game and just things aren't clicking. I don't know what it is. As I said, I don't think you could look at anyone and say they had a bad performance except for the two centers. I thought Isaac Tungo, I'm more disappointed in Isaac Tungo than I am Casey McLean because Casey is very, very young. I also don't think he's a center, despite the fact he was playing in this game. And again, the Dolphins, let's just go straight across to the Dolphins now. The Dolphins came with a game plan to attack those centers, to attack Isaac Tungo, to attack Casey McLean, and it just worked wonders. So it's one thing, for the Dolphins to identify that, as every team has done for years past, and, this year it's working to an extent. But yes, one team to identify that, but there's a whole other thing to go and execute that, and I thought they did that fantastically. And the big thing for them, as I said, was their defense. Every time that the Panthers did throw something at them, the Dolphins read it. They were really good in, rushing up on the right-hand side in particular, when we were mentioning Blaze Talangi there. The Panthers had space on a few different occasions, but the Dolphins' right-hand side of Avarillo and Isako and whatnot, they would rush up and they'd take that space away and close that down really, really well. So I thought their defense was the biggest thing in this one. They scored 30 points. I thought it was just a fantastic performance from the Dolphins. They were amazing, to be honest. They couldn't have played a better game, in my opinion. And this is the Dolphins side that, I've tipped them almost every week. I didn't tip them this week. Shock. I've been, number one ticket holder for the Dolphins this season, and I didn't pick them this week. But every week we came in here saying after they would lose and say they're not far off. They've lost 4 games in a row. They're not that bad of a footy team. They've been in these contests, and a few things, once they click, they will look like a really good footy side. And here they are. In the last 2 weeks, they have clicked. They look fantastic. Their defense was perfect in this one, and their attack and their game plan was also near perfect as well. So, I'm not using that as a scapegoat for the Panthers, saying, oh, well, they came up a team that played perfectly. Absolutely not, because the Panthers should still be, it's the Panthers. We don't need to say much more about them. But I do think the Dolphins were unbelievable in this game, and I thought they did a wonderful job to execute their game plan, especially attacking those centers. So there was the hammer play. Let's just throw the hammer talk into this one as well. I thought we've been talking a little bit about him this season where, he's got that speed, he's got that running game to keep people in 2 minds. He's always had that, and his support play is fantastic. But what I liked from the early outsets from round 1 and even the trials was, I actually don't think he played in the trials. It would have just been round 1. His ball playing, it has come on leaps and bounds. So the first one, very early in the game, he attacks that left-hand side. He gets the interest of Isaac Tungo because of his speed, gets him to bite just that slightest bit with a double pump, and then on to Herbie, who makes that clean line break. But he doesn't rest there. He runs through and supports Herbie, catches it on the inside, scores a try off the back of his ball playing. So there's a line break assist from him into a try. Not a line break into try that we're used to, line break assist into try. Then on the right-hand side later on, he does the exact same thing with Jake Averillo. He's running, using that speed, waiting for that player to bite. In this case, it's Casey McLean, who's turned his body. Again, don't think he's a centre, but he did have a poor game in this one. He turned his body that bit too much, and as soon as Hammer saw that, bang, hits Averillo, bursts through the gap with his speed. Hammer once again supports up, takes the ball and scores a try. And of course, he had that final try, which is more of what we know from the Hammer, just the speed off a kick and just bang through the gap. There's no one else you want to get the ball to there. So I thought Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow was fantastic. I think he's becoming such a well-rounded player. And keep in mind, this is all at centre. When he goes to the rep arenas, he's doing all of this at fullback. But when he goes to the rep arenas, he comes in at centre, and he's one of the best defensive centres in the NRL. So I think, once again, if he wasn't at the Dolphins, I think if he was at a Sydney club, he would be talked about even more. He's already talked about as a superstar, but I think he's such a good footy player, Hammer. He's just getting better and better. And I thought he was amazing in this game. Josh Kerr, another one that I loved from the Dolphins as well. I've always thought that he was a very underrated footy player. He has the odd error in his game, which is, you come to expect it, and a few times they can lead to tries. So it'd be great for him to get rid of that. But just whenever he comes onto the field, he just changes momentum every single time he steps out there. He runs it really, really hard, which is what I love to see as a front rower. Just sometimes it's not about the silly stuff, and it's the game we live in. Find your front, quick play the balls, whatnot. Bugger that. I want to make 15, 20 meters off a hard run. I don't care if I get put on my back, which I know it's not the way the game's going, but I love what Josh Kerr does. And the big thing about him is it's not just the hard running, it's his offload. He's always had a very, very good offload. But the one he got away for Connolly Lemuelu's try, that might have been his best ever. That was just an absolute pill of a ball. And I hope he just cements his spot in this side. Only 23 minutes from Josh Kerr, 7 runs, 67 metres, and that try assist to Connolly Lemuelu. I want him to stay in here. I want him to get more minutes, but regardless, he deserves a spot in this side. Other standout players, I thought Max Plath back in his usual position of lock was really good. Didn't do the running meters that we sort of come to expect from him. Not that he's a massive meter eater, but defensively I thought he was incredible. Came up with a lot of good tackles. Gilbert as well, I like him at second row. So, there's a lot of good things from this Dolphins team. Hammer, 256 meters as well, by the way. Obviously, 1 90-odd metre try, the other 2 supporting and making a few metres there. But 256 metres is bloody good. I thought Jake Averillo as well, really good in this one. We mentioned that time that he absolutely skinned what's his name? Casey McLean. But there was another time that he used that speed to get around, had a little bit of a little feint, feint of the ball, little dummy back inside to Sako, and then scored in the corner there. 15 runs, 189 metres, 2 line breaks, 1 try assist, 6 tackle breaks. So those are the big standouts. As I said, everyone sort of played a really good game of footy in this one, but we're trying to cut these down. And once again, I've got ahead of myself talking for too long. But yeah, incredible performance by the Dolphins. As I said, this is the team that I came to expect from them. We're saying it every single week. If you listen to the show, they were not a bad footy side. They were just not playing to their best. Here they are. They play to their best and they get a fantastic win over the 4-time premiers. So not much more you can ask for from the Dolphins. I'm sure all Dolphins fans should be very, very happy with their team's performance. Let's move over to the second game of the round. The Dragons, the St. George Illawarra Dragons, defeating the Gold Coast Titans 38-16. And now I'm going to start with a gripe. AJ Brimson, or actually this is the Dragons' fault, not Brimson's fault. The junk time try to AJ Brimson in the 78th minute ruined my bet. Get him out of here. I'm going to send him an angry text and abuse him for it because it's unacceptable. No, it's just, we put up on the story. If you guys follow along on the Chip and Chase Instagram account, which if you don't, you absolutely should. But yeah, we had a little bit of money on this one and thought it was a bloody ripper of a bet, and it looked like it for 78 minutes of the game. And then the AJ Brimson try stuffed that bet up because it put I had the Titans to score under 3 tries. That was the third try. And it also put them over 50 total match points for the game, which was one of the other legs. So I'm saying this as a bit of a joke that lost some money on this game. But the main thing is I don't think Shane Flanagan will be happy with that final try. Like the Dragons, we're starting on a negative because we will get to the positives for the Dragons. Don't you worry. That final try, yes, it was a lot of offloading. Yes, it was a lot of ad-lib play for the Titans and it's hard to defend. And yes, it's 78 minutes into a contest, so you're tired. And yes, you're up 38-10 or whatever it is, so it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But this is a Shane Flanagan coach side. The way that the Dragons were just walking and they were just dawdling, I think is the word for it. There wasn't an effort to get there. There wasn't an enthusiasm to stop it. And it's just a slight blight on what was an otherwise terrific performance. And I know Shane Flanagan's not going to be happy with that. But regardless, as I said, Dragons were really, really good in this one. They're another team that we outlined from essentially the preseason that we're pretty big on this season, thinking that they will be a top 8 side. And they started this year with a few losses and it was all looking quite bad, but they've come back with wins over the Storm. They did lose to the Eels last week, didn't they? And then a big win here against the Titans. And this is just, they're clicking into gear and they're not at their best still. 38 points here, great. They're still not at their best. There's still a few too many errors from mainly Lachlan Ilias in particular. And, I don't want to bag him because I like Lachlan Ilias and I don't want to bag players at the best of times. This win masks that, and especially because it's 38. And he does a lot good, don't get me wrong. There is a lot that people see the errors or, the kicks out on the full that he's had in a few weeks that have cost games in quotation marks. He does a lot good. His running game is really good. He plays pretty deep and direct into line, and it opens up space for his attack. But yeah, there's the odd kick out in the full almost every game. And then there's also, surprisingly, seemingly every game, they will pass to him when he's looking to kick, and he just goes to do it before he's caught the ball. He's got his hands out extended and just drops the ball, doesn't even catch it before he goes to kick the ball. And that's happening well too many times. I can't recall if that led directly to Titans points in this one. I don't think it did because the Dragons defense was really, really good, which is sort of a safety net for Ilias there. But he's got to get them out of his game, especially because the Dragons don't really have depth in that position. But they get Atkinson coming over to the club next year. He's going to put pressure on not necessarily the halfback role, but probably the 5/8 role, which means Kyle Flanagan, who was incredible, and we'll talk about him soon, would probably move into that halfback role. So Lachlan Ilias, he just needs to get those out of his game. But regardless, as I said, there's a lot of good things he's doing out there. And here we are with a 38-16 scoreline. So you can't be too negative. I just thought that this is the way they should be playing, and they're getting very, very close to. I don't think this is their peak, but they're getting close to that peak. Yes, against the Titans side, who is quite poor, and there was a lot of people high on the Titans. I couldn't really see it. Maybe it's just because I'm really high on the Dragons, but yeah, this Titans side isn't doing a whole lot for me at the moment. But the Dragons, they just came out with their game plan, the way that their spine connects, the way that all their new recruits connect. You just can't ask for a whole lot more from them at the moment. They're doing absolutely everything out there. So, yeah, I thought this was a fantastic performance from them. We'll get to the Titans later. Let's stay on the Dragons and talk about a few of their standout players. And there were a few to be talked about. I'm going to start with Jack de Belin. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for his link man role. Like, he has... We talk about Isaiah Yeo changing the game. Jack de Belin's always sort of done this. Ever since he debuted, he's always been a really good blend of good, not necessarily hard runs. He's not the fastest lock forward out there, but he normally finds his front. He normally makes good meters. He has a really good game sense of when to run and when to pass, and he's one of the best defenders in the NRL. And I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for being one of the best lock forwards in the game. Like, not necessarily best players, but if you want that pure link man lock forward role, I think he's one of the best in the NRL at it. And I think I want to just give him that credit that people don't necessarily do. As I said, his defense is excellent. But yeah, his passing game in this one was great. He also made a couple of line breaks. Like, he just... As I said, he's got a really good feel for the game. 50 minutes he played in this one, 15 runs, 137 meters. It says one line break. They mustn't have given him the other one, but he went very close to another one. And 32 tackles, 4 misses in this one. But yeah, I thought he was really, really good in this one. Unlocked their attack big time. Like, he never really misses with his passes out the back, which lead to the attacking plays. And as I said, a few times that he just catches that ball, dummies, and went through almost untouched. So I thought he was really good in this one, Jack de Belin. Luciano Leilua ended up starting off the bench for this one with Dylan Egan playing at second row, starting at second row and playing the entire game except for a elbow injury in the final minute. That stopped him from that, and we'll get to Egan. But I thought Luciano Leilua, when he came on, he just brought so much impact off the bench. Ended up playing 43 minutes, and I assume he's on decent coin. I don't think it necessarily matters at the moment. I thought this was the perfect way to use him, bring him off that bench for half the game, 11 runs, 102 meters. He's got the offload. He's got his passing game. Hell, he had a line break assist and a try assist in this one. I thought he was fantastic off the bench, and it coincides very well with Dylan Egan, the young man that we were pretty high on last season and talking about him this season. He started at second row, as I said, played almost the full 80. 13 runs, 119 meters, one line break assist, one try, 3 tackle breaks, and 47 tackles for 2 missed. The 19, 20-year-old having a performance like that. I love the way he plays his footy. He's a big Shane Flanagan sort of player, and Shane Flanagan's been very high on him for a long time. He's got to stay in that starting role, in my opinion, and I think bringing Luciano Leilua off the bench, when you've got a tired forward pack and you bring Luciano on, that's the last thing you want to see on the opposite side. Like, you just do not want to be dealing with his offloading, his stepping, just his game-breaking ability, and let Dylan Egan just go. I love the way that they did, they made that switch. I thought it was great. Jaden Stewart still got through 80 minutes, 17 runs, 158 meters. I thought he was excellent. We're very big on Jaden Stewart. Last year we outlined him for the best year of his career, and he went and had that. There's just, as I said, a lot to like about this Dragons side. I'm liking the signing of David Clemmer. Still not playing huge minutes, but I don't think you need it out of him. I just like what he gets through in his time on the field. Damien Cook had maybe his best game as a Dragon so far. Played the full game in this one. Jacob Little, 29 minutes. So they did do that shared lock minute role as well there. But just from the early parts of the game, Damien Cook looked really good, scooting out a dummy half and making those plays. So I thought he was good. And of course, their backline, James, I'm just going to read numbers here because I don't want to go through forever. James Tedesco, Clint Gutherson, 17 runs, 175 meters, one line break, one try assist. Tyrell Sloan, 2 tries, 14 runs, 135 metres, 2 line breaks. Moses Sully, 19 runs, 190 metres from him, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists, 8 tackle breaks. Valentine Holmes, 17 runs, 147 metres, 1 line break, 2 line break assists, 1 try assist, 1 try. Christian Tuipulotu in 59 minutes, 17 runs, 202 metres, 2 line breaks, 2 tries. Their back 5 is clicking into gear so well. I love that they've got meter eaters in Tuipulotu and Sully, and then you've got speed and like poise, if you will, in Valentine Holmes and Tyrell Sloan, who still get through, Tyrell Sloan, I should say, who still get through enough meters that they're not just being lazy out there. But I think there's so many different points of attack in that back line. And they're all, well, not all, but, Tuipulotu, Sloan, Sully, probably not on huge money. You're getting so much value out of it. I love their back 5. They're just doing amazing things. And lastly, let's finish on the best player on the ground in this one. Kyle Flanagan, I thought, was absolutely terrific. I think he was just probably one of the best games he's played. He played the full 80, obviously. 11 runs, 95 metres, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 1 try, 2 tackle breaks, kicked very well, 14 tackles, 2 missed. I thought he was just excellent out there. He has made our team of the week. You guys can go see that up on the page already. He was just fantastic. And as I said, I'm big on this Dragons team, and I love the way that they're all clicking into gear, and I still think there's more levels to go in them. So, yeah, they're going to be a dangerous team to watch as the season progresses. As for the Titans, we're going to be a bit quicker here, not because I don't want to talk about the Titans, but because there's not much to talk about the Titans here. They're just not playing a very attractive brand of footy at the moment. The Jaden Campbell, AJ Brimson in the halves, I still like the idea of it, but they're not creating enough. A lot of it comes off the back of their running game, and I think the biggest part about it is you needed Keanu Keeney in that side. Jalen DeGree, he had a better game in this one than he has in the last couple. He got a lot more involved and took a lot more runs, 15 runs for 139 metres in this game. But it's not the 25 runs, 250 metres Keanu Keeney does. And it's Keanu Keeney creating those, breaking tackles and bopping up and whatnot that ends up creating ad-lib space for AJ Brimson and Jaden Campbell. Like, you've got 3 fullbacks out there. Now, Jalen DeGroot, he worked hard and he played a good game in this one, but he just doesn't really provide that. And if that's not the case, I think they need a little bit more creativity and space and just composure in their halves than Brimson and Campbell. So, I think Foran's still out for a fair while. I'd persist with the Brimson Campbell thing for now, I guess. But there's every chance you could move Brimson into fullback, bring in Tom Weaver in the meantime till Foran's back and give that a crack. But if your main goal down the track, in next year's time or whatnot, is Keanu Keeney at fullback and those 2 in the halves, Brimson and Campbell, then you may as well persist with it here. I'm just not seeing enough from it. I don't think they were bad. Once again, I don't think they've really had bad performances, those players in particular, but they're not creating enough, and the rest of this Titans team is sort of, floundering on the back of it in a way. Just it's a little bit of a worry. I think they're going to get their moments. We've said that at the beginning of the season. They're going to have games where they get a dry track and everything clicks and they'll be unstoppable. And I'm going to really enjoy watching those games. But in games like this against a quality footy side in the Dragons, they couldn't get anything right. As I said, they scored their 3rd try in the final 2 minutes of the game. I don't know. There's not enough there for them at the moment, in my opinion. In terms of standout players, though, Philip Sammy, very underrated. We talk about him almost every week. 18 runs, 193 metres and a try. Just getting through, 200 metres a game almost every week and just doing so without any wraps. I love the work he goes through. David Fafita back in the starting side in this one. Almost the full game, 74 minutes in this one. 17 runs, 203 metres. 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, and 10 tackle breaks. He was back to his absolute best, and he was just in a mood from the opening parts of the game. And that had me a little bit worried. If, David Fafita's in a mood, there should be a few things that the Titans can score points off the back of, and they still really just couldn't do that. Bo Fermor in the centres, I hated this move. I think he's a fine centre, but he's a fantastic back rower. And you had Alan Fitzgibbon, who's essentially an out-and-out winger on the bench, who came on, and then you moved Fermor back in the forwards. Just start Fermor in the forwards. Let him stay in the forwards. Put Alan Fitzgibbon onto the wing to start and Sammy into the centres. And then don't use an interchange bringing a winger on with 33 minutes to go in the game. It was such a bizarre idea. I don't think it lost them the game, but I did not like it. It just didn't make any sense to me. But especially because, respectfully, Cleese Haas is not offering much at the moment. Like, just let Bo Fermor and Dave Feeder play 80 minutes in the second row. Put Alan Fitzgibbon, use his speed, but let him play the full 80 on the wing. Campbell Gillard had his best game for the Titans, but he's still not offering much. I hardly notice him out there. Mo Fotuaika was good in bigger minutes, 59 minutes for him, 14 runs, 151 metres. But yeah, just wasn't much to talk about from the Titans in this one. They weren't throwing much out there. In fairness, as I said, the Dragons defended really, really well. So there's more of a positive to them. But yeah, what more is there to really say about the Titans, unfortunately? Let's move over into the next game of the round. The Broncos and the Roosters. The Roosters winning this one in a big upset, 26-16. I love this game from the Roosters. I thought they played a very good blend of clinical and expansive footy. We'll get to him, but young Hugo Savala, I thought was really, really good in just, kicking and not overplaying his hand. Played a very, very composed game of footy, which is what they've needed, and it's what Chad should have been providing, but his kicking game just wasn't up to scratch in the first few rounds of the season. I thought Hugo Savala, I thought he did a really good job of he didn't do much. Like, if you watch the game, I don't think he actually played much in the attacking roles. Maybe I missed that, but if I did, it just goes to show how, just underrated and under the radar his performance was, which is exactly what you need. You don't need your halfback overplaying his hand in a team that still has the rest of these superstars. So I thought he did a fantastic job. His kicking game was just incredible. And as I said, the Roosters off the back of that were able to just time when they wanted to play expansive and when they wanted to play clinical and back you into a corner and just play a really smart and slow game plan. I thought, as I said, they executed that very, very good. I don't think they could have really done a whole lot more. For the Broncos, we'll talk about them, but yeah, they weren't their best. But again, this is another one of those games like the Panthers one that the Roosters upset a few weeks ago, where I think the Roosters just came with a game plan that couldn't be beat by the team on the day. They came with that perfect game plan and they executed it to perfection. So I thought the Roosters were really, really good. And the other thing I wanted to outline about them in this one is just how desperate of a side they are. And that's what happens when where you are on the ladder with the ratings and the expectations that people have on you. For where you are on the ladder, you play with that desperation, or you should be playing with that desperation. And the Roosters, they came out and did that. And I think what really, the perfect encapsulation of that was the 3 tackles near the end of the game on Staggs, Hunt and Willison in the same passage to save a try. It was about 9 minutes out from full time. And I think it's Tedesco hits a runaway Staggs very close to the line and throws him out. Staggs offloads that back to Hunt. And somebody tackles Hunt, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, like in a smashing tackle as well, who then offloads it to Willison and someone smashes Willison. It could have very much just been Staggs scores, and no one would have really batted an eye because you don't really stop Staggs from that close to the line. But Tedesco makes that massive tackle on him. It could have ended there. It could have been, oh, wow, what a fantastic tackle. Oh, no, Staggs offload the ball, Hunt scored. But no, they kept turning up. It goes back to Hunt. There's another clinical tackle, crunching tackle. Hunt offloads it to Willison. There's another one. They just kept turning up for each other, and that's exactly what I love to see about the Roosters at the moment. That's the footy that they need to be playing, and I thought they did that to perfection against the Broncos in this one. Before we get into their standout players, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here about the bunker. I am so sick of referees asking what the bunker wants them to do. Like, why do we even have on-field refs at this point? There was a moment in this game where it was after the Angus Crichton the raised forearm penalty on Adam Reynolds, where you could just hear referee Adam Goff asking the bunker in his headset, are you happy with the level of force, to find out if they thought that just a penalty was sufficient or if it should have been more. These are the best referees in the country. If we can't trust them to make the call themselves in the moment, then why on earth do we even have them? It's not even a blight on Adam Goff. Like, it's just the way that the game is being played. It's what the refs are being instructed to do. Talk to the bunker, let the bunker make the decision. But then the bunker slows it down in, 0.5 time and they get to make that decision. Adam Goff saw it live. He saw it in full speed and he called the penalty. If he can't then make that decision on whether or not it's a sin bin or just a penalty on report, then, there's no point. He should be able to make that decision. Slowing the game down and waiting, there's a pause in the game as he's talking on the headset going, what do you want me to do? It's just bullshit. It's a blight on the game. I'm so sick of, asking the bunker for help with everything. And as I said, it's not a blight on Adam Goff. It's just what he's being instructed to do, and it's bullshit. I'm sure he's not very happy with it. If you're a referee, you trust and back your knowledge of the game and your ability, and you don't really get to do that at the moment. So there's my little tangent aside. Otherwise, let's get into the Roosters standout players. We mentioned Hugo Savala, just a really, really good, not debut, but debut starting a match just in the halves. I just think played a really good game. Didn't overplay his hand, kicked really, really well, and also thought his defense was really, really well as well. So, as I said, that's all that team needs from him. I thought he was really good. Sandon Smith, you guys know we get on him and we wrap him almost every week for the Roosters. He just tries his little heart out, and I love a lot of what Sandon Smith does. He attacks the game and plays an eyes-up brand of footy that makes him very unpredictable and dangerous in attack. But he has got to get these errors out of his game. He has essentially been responsible for a try a game against his side so far this season, just with lapses of concentration. So I can't recall the other ones. I'm sure there was a pass through to, there's another intercept pass through to someone else in games previous. But in this one, there was the pass he threw to, it was meant to hit Daniel Tupou down, short side play on the left. But it went straight to Selwyn Cobbo's chest and just he ran away to score a try. The pass was never on. Cobbo was always in the line of, play. And you're in not commanding lead, but you're in the lead here, protected in a way. You don't need to do a short side play. And don't get me wrong, I love seeing players that play an eyes up brand of footy, but that pass was never on. And it's not just an error that, he turned the ball over, let's defend it. It led directly to a Broncos try, and he's having those at least once a game at the moment. Like, he's responsible for a try against them. As I said, really, really like him as a player. This isn't just me calling him out. I think he's going to be a really good footy player, and I love the way he plays his footy. And it's more so when he gets rid of these, when he can iron these errors out of his game, God, he's going to be a dangerous footy player. So, just hopefully he can cut them out. I'm sure, Trent Robinson's talking to him about them. He doesn't need to hear it from me. But just silly stuff. Just those lapses in concentration, we'll call them. But silly stuff there. But other than that, I thought he was quite good. Connor Watson for the Roosters. Love him. Once again, another one that we sort of talk about every week because I love Connor Watson. Like, who doesn't love Connor Watson? Just plays such a good brand of footy. So there was the try assist he had to Angus Crichton. Again, just markers weren't square. People retreating defence. Picks up the ball, runs it right, bounces around, steps back across and fires a great ball to Angus Crichton back across the face, well, not the face of the rock, behind the ruck, but to the left-hand side of the play the ball. And throws that one in. He also had a technically, in quotation marks, try assist to, actually can't remember, Nat Butcher it might have been. I think it might have been Nat Butcher. But it was mainly that one that he threw to Angus Crichton that I thought was an absolute pill. I love the way he plays his footy. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Brandon Smith there. I assume it's just going to be Connor starts the game, plays 30 minutes at hooker. Brandon comes on just before halftime, maybe plays the full game or maybe not. Connor spends time in lock. Regardless, you need to keep him playing 80 minutes out there. But I thought he was excellent. And He's doing a very admirable job in that hooker role, and I can't wait to see him play for New South Wales, to be honest. Beyond that, we mentioned last week Nat Butcher, once again playing very well in this one. We said last week as well whether or not you can move him into prop, and that's exactly what they did. Only 49 minutes again. I still think he has a lot more in him, and you could probably get more out of him. But in that 49 minutes, he ran the ball 20 times for 178 meters, had the line break, had 2 tackle breaks, had a try, and made 25 tackles for 0 missed. He is a bloody good footy player, Nat Butcher. So more love goes his way from me. He's one of those players that doesn't get the love he deserves, and he will get it unheralded from me. I think he's a bloody damn good footy player. Other than that, James Tedesco, good as always, 23 runs, 24 meters, I should say, 1 line break, 1 try assist, 6 tackle breaks. He has been playing a really good brand of footy all season, trying to do everything for his side, and it's not getting noticed because the Roosters aren't getting wins, but it's not off the back of James Tedesco. He is playing very, very good out there. Billy Smith, back in the centres in this one, Nwanga Nituase was cleared fit to play and was left out of this side. I don't think he gets the centre spot back of Billy Smith, not because of Nwanga Nituase's performances, but because of how good Billy Smith is and just the raps that we have on this player. 2 tries for him. He did have the sin bin, which was a very fair sin bin in my opinion. 12 runs, 119 metres, 2 tackle breaks, and defended very well with 18 tackles and only 2 missed. He has got to be the centre. I think what they're going to do with Nwanga Nituase, I think they're actually going to drop Dom Young next week and put Nwanga Nituase to the wing, which I think will be really good for Nwanga Nituase. I think he's going to be an incredible winger. He's just got the attributes that just suit that well. But before that happens, Dom Young has copped a lot of shit for this season. And a lot of it, I think, has been unnecessary. Yes, he missed that. He just was very out of position for the pass that Latrell Mitchell fired last week that led to the Rabbitohs win. But in this week and in weeks prior, those intercepts, he's made plenty of them to save tries. He did it again in this one, just backing up and catching up. I can't remember who the ball was to. Might have been like Reece Walsh or Ben Hunt, threw it over the top. And Dominic Young snatches it out of the air and saves a try. And he's done it on multiple occasions. The Penrith Panthers game where, Daniel Tupou gets the praise for taking Brian Tyre out. Dominic Young came up with 2 try-saving intercepts in the 2 plays before that. Yes, you can get up and say, out of position, why is he even going for the intercept against the Rabbitohs? But he's a 6'6" giant who has come up with those intercepts almost every bloody week to save tries. Now, maybe I'm not watching the game closely, but I feel like I am. I watch every single game. He hasn't been that bad. He does have a, issue of crabbing across field and not running straight. He does make the odd errors, and he defensively does find himself out of position here and there. But he's coming up with a lot of great defensive plays that are just getting swept under the rug, and I think I want to give him that praise. I'm not saying he shouldn't be dropped for Nwanga Nituase, because I think you need Mark in the team, and I think he'll be a fantastic winger. But I think it's harsh done on Dominic Young, and I want to give him those raps before, if that happens. The other one potential being dropped is Robert Toya, who I haven't thought has been fantastic since his opening game. I thought he's been fine, but I think he'll probably stay in the side because he is the future of their club, and he will be probably a superstar. So we'll have to see what they do there. But yeah, that's my little rant on that done. Lastly, before we move on to the Broncos side of things, Angus Crichton just not necessarily back to his best, but 15 runs, 104 metres, 1 line break, 1 try, 3 tackle breaks, 28 tackles. Just a solid performance from him as well. For the Broncos side of things, we've sort of talked about them already when we wrapped them into the Roosters chat. The Roosters came with a game plan that was perfect to stop the Broncos, and they did that. However, the Broncos, they are a weird team. I still think they're a top 4 side. I think on their day, especially when they can iron out games like this, they can be a premiership threat. But they've got so much to them, and they're not winning games like this, like they should have won this game. Reece Walsh, he's just, I don't know what it is, but he's not finding his way into this footy side like he should. And I don't think he was poor in this one, but he wasn't inserting himself as much as he should have. He did score a try. He did only make the one error, but they're just missing him sort of inserting himself. I don't really know what to say about the Broncos in this one. Like, you look at their performance, I don't think they were actually overly bad. I don't think there was just moments that were just really bad. I thought Hunt and Reynolds played well. I thought Haas and Carrigan played well. Haas played 68 minutes. Holy shit. Yeah, 17 runs, 140 metres, 6 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, 35 tackles, 1 miss in 68 metres. That's big. But yeah, so back to the thing. I don't know. Yeah, it's really hard to get a read on them in this game. I don't think they were like really bad. I don't remember too many times where I'm like, yep, that's going to cost them a game, or that was really poor, or anything like that. Like, there were a few errors across the park. Like, Ben Hunt made a few untimely ones, but it wasn't a catastrophe of a game. As I said, I think it's more so just a positive for the Roosters, who came in with a game plan to unsettle them and get under their skin, and they did just that. So yeah, I'll give that more of a wrap to the Roosters, but yeah, I don't really know what to say about the Broncos. If there's someone out there who's listening or watching this one and you want to chat about it and let me know where they went wrong, please do, because I probably missed that. There's probably a Broncos fan who watched this game completely, very closely, and was like, these are the areas that let us down. And there obviously were those areas because they lost this game, but I just couldn't really identify them. I thought that the Roosters were just the better side through and through. In terms of standout players, as I said, those 2 front rowers, Haas, we just read through his numbers. Paddy Carrigan, 17 runs, 159 metres from him, 1 line break assist, and 30 tackles for 1 miss. I thought Shibasaki, once again, worked very, very hard in the centres. I really like what he's doing. 20 runs, 157 metres from him, 1 line break, 2 tackle breaks, and 11 tackles for 2 missed. But beside that, yeah, it wasn't too much of note really for the Broncos. Like, you can read through all these numbers or go back and watch the game, and as I said, I don't think anybody was like exceptionally poor. But no one was really stand out either. It's just one of those games. And, I've talked about the Broncos a lot, so maybe it's fair that this time I talk about them not so much, but it just wasn't their day today in this one. Let's move over to the next game, the Sharkies and the Seagulls. The Sharkies winning this one 24-18. And to me, they were always like the better team in this one. They kept the Seagulls scoreless for the entire first half, and they scored a couple more tries in the Seagulls, and even some of those Seagulls tries were just like the Luke Brooks one was an intercept length of the field in the second half. The Daly Cherry Evans one, I can't fully even remember, but I remember it not being like an earned try. So I thought the Sharks weren't fantastic, though. I thought they were really scrappy, but they were always in control of the game. I think there was individual efforts that just broke the game open. Will Kennedy in particular, we've mentioned him a lot this season, and before like their couple of losses recently, I was saying he'd been the best fullback in the NRL this season, and I still think he's right up there at the moment. He's been one of the best players in general this season. But he had that length of the field try in this one, which was just beating players, dummy left and right, going through, and then it got called back, and that was absolutely killer. I was so frustrated at that. I mean, I think it might have been the right call, but regardless, give it to him. Thankfully, wouldn't have been 10 minutes later, he came up with another brilliant solo effort from like 20, 30 metres out, just crabbing across field, dummy, step, left, right, finds his way through, and he scored that try. So he still got himself on the score sheet. But yeah, I thought he was just exceptional. And we've mentioned it. We don't need to keep talking about it. But the chat about him and whether or not the Sharks can win a premiership with him at fullback, he's definitely not the problem with the Sharks at the moment. I thought he was unbelievable, as he always is. So safe at the back as well. So yeah, Will Kennedy, fantastic. Sam Stonestreet scored a couple more tries. He's still got the errors in his game, but this is a performance that you can live with from him. 18 runs, 181 metres, 1 line break, 2 tackle breaks, and 2 tries. Thought he was really, really good. Hiroti, again, the Sharks finding a way to use Hiroti and let him score tries. Interesting enough, Ronaldo Mulatalo I found in the centres a lot in this game. So Moeni Hiroti was actually playing on the wing for most of this game, at least to what my eyes saw out there, and Ronaldo was playing in the centres. And Ronaldo was actually really good in the centres, showed a passing game I didn't think he had to put Hiroti away. Jesse Ramian got through his usual work, 21 runs, 183 metres, 2 tackle breaks, and only 1 offload from him in this game, 10 tackles, 0 missed. So their back 5 are still doing really good things. I think their halves weren't fantastic. Like Trindle had a fair few errors in this one. Did come up with some try assists, like he has that in him as well. Nico Hines didn't do anything exceptional, just ran the ball and defended well. As I said, it was a scrappy performance from the Sharks, but they were always the best team in this game. And they're not going to get the raps that they deserve, in my opinion. I haven't, heard many people speak about them yet. I'll listen to the other podcasts as the week goes on, but there is going to be criticisms of them, and as they should be. Is this a performance that wins you a premiership? No. But it's over, in my opinion, a top 8 team in the first place, and they were never, ever out of this game. They were always the best team in the game, and they never, ever looked like losing, and they did it without playing their best footy. So I think it's a good game from the Sharkies. I think there's still a lot to improve on. In terms of standout players, yeah, we mentioned those sort of the 5 outside backs. I think they were the best players for the Sharkies in this one. I loved what they did. I thought Teague Wilton was good after missing last week. I liked what he was doing out there. 13 runs, 110 metres from him, and 25 tackles. And then the other man off the bench, you got to mention him every week, Tommy Hazelton. I liked Rudolph again. I liked Talakai. But Tom Hazelton off the bench, 48 minutes, 15 runs, 132 metres, 1 line break, 1 try, 6 tackle breaks, 30 tackles, 0 missed, 100% tackle efficiency. Makes our team of the week, I believe. I actually haven't done the team of the week, spoiler alert, but I will. I think he's got to be our bench player of the week. He keeps doing these week in, week out. So I thought he was excellent. And shout out Blake Brayley for making 50 tackles in this one as well. And I thought he was actually a bit more crafty around the ruck in this one as well. So, as I said, not their best performance, but a commanding victory. They never looked like they were losing. The Seagulls, this is a really poor performance on the other end of the spectrum because, as I said, they were never in this game. The 24-18 scoreline flatters them because the Luke Brooks try was off an intercept. The Cherry Evans try was a junk time try that really shouldn't have been scored. And the Sharkies missed 3 conversions. So there's actually a whole nother try worth of points that the Sharkies don't even have on the scoreboard. So people are going to look at this one and probably be like, oh, yeah, it was a close game between 2 clubs that are probably top 8 and just call it there. No, the Seagulls were poor. They never looked like being in it. The only real player I thought was really good was Lehigh Hopewate, who just tried his little heart out there. 19 runs, 196 metres from Lehigh. No tackle breaks in that too. That was just pure work. But besides that, I was just like, yeah, there's just not a whole lot going on for them. I thought, well, last week they used Tolo Kula really, really well. This week they gave him nothing. They gave him very poor ball. And yes, he was up against Ramian, who's one of the better defensive centres in the game, one of the better centres in the NRL, in my opinion, Jesse Ramian. But they just gave Tolo Kula absolutely no good ball. He couldn't get anything started, and he was your best player last week. I don't know what their goal was. I thought Ruben Garrick was all right. Had his errors though. Clayton Falalo, I think he's just done an admirable job every single time he's played, and one that we've been big on for a while. 15 runs, 163 metres, 2 line breaks, 3 tackle breaks, and a try again from Falalo. But that was the Cherry Evans try, wasn't it? Was that off the Tommy Talau intercept? So yeah, essentially another try that was scored off an intercept. Besides Lehigh, Falalo, and Luke Brooks, who I thought were all really good, no one else was fantastic. Luke Brooks, let's talk about him a bit now. Yes, his try came off that intercept. Yes, his run meters are inflated off that intercept, 163 meters from 12 runs. But it's the 12 runs in the first place that I like the look of. He just kept trying in this one. Well, I thought Cherry Evans, who wasn't bad, but just didn't really offer a whole lot in this one. It's just, I don't know what to really say about the Seagulls in this one. They didn't have energy. I thought Homole looked dangerous and threatening when he was out there, and then he suffered a shoulder injury, and he played the full game in fairness, but just as soon as that shoulder injury was troubling him, he wasn't at his best. And it's just getting more and more evident that they're still struggling to win without Tom Trbojevic. And Lehigh was good. And, you've still got attacking weapons in Kula, Garrick, Falalo, Tommy Talau coming back into the side and running 16 times for 189 metres. And, second row was like Olakawatu. There's attack in this side, and they just had absolutely nothing. Sharks defense, it was good. Don't get me wrong. But the Seagulls threw fuck all at them, to be honest. And, it's just a very worrying performance. Any other players I can say? Taukeiaho, 46 minutes, 16 runs, 146 metres is pretty darn good. That's realistically about it. I don't have too much more positive to say about the Seagulls in this one. Hopefully we can, write it off as just one of those games, but I think I've said that 2 or 3 times about them this year. I was hoping this was the year that they'd get consistent. We know on their day they're one of the best footy sides in the game, but they need to make the gap between their best performance and their worst performance so much closer. So, very, very disappointing game from the Seagulls in this one, in my opinion. Let's move over to the North Queensland Cowboys defeating the South Sydney Rabbitohs 24-16. Love this game. This was probably my favourite game on the round. In saying that, let's talk negative again off rip. The hip drop penalty on Jack Whiten was a disgraceful call. Just another one of those on-field referee, another call where the on-field referee was fine with it. He didn't notice in it. Then the bunker steps in after reviewing it at 0.5 speed and makes the call to penalise it. Thankfully, it wasn't a bloody, sin bin. But at a crucial moment in the game, you're penalising desperation and heart. Like Jack Whiten sprinting back to tackle Scott Drinkwater, who's running away to score a try to keep his side in the game. You're penalising that. If we're going to stop players from playing with heart, and what's he meant to do? Just not tackle him from behind? He's diving at a player from behind to pull them down. You can't. It wasn't a hip drop. He didn't swing his. It was a disgraceful call. Thankfully, he didn't get sin bin, but it didn't really matter because of that penalty, this Cowboys scored like 2 tackles later and not necessarily won them the game because there was still time to win the game for the Bunnies. But that could have been a moment that inspired his team. And it did. After he made that try-saving tackle by running down Scott Drinkwater, he was raring to go. The Bunnies were raring. They were all energized. That could have been the momentum shift the Rabbitohs needed. It should have been potentially the momentum shift the Rabbitohs needed, and it was taken away and instead turned into a try to the Cowboys. It's essentially maybe even like a 12-point swing. Now, I'm not saying it lost the Rabbitohs the game. As I said, there's plenty more time of the game for them to win this one. But it's just a disgraceful call. And another one that there was nothing wrong with it. The ref didn't call it. And then 3 minutes later, it's like, oh, Jack, come here. It's a hip drop tackle. You're on report. It's a penalty. And it's just stupid. The bunker should not be stepping in unless the referee asks them to. It's so frustrating. Regardless, I still enjoyed this game. I liked how close these teams were. I liked the footy that they were both playing. And I got the tip right. So I tipped the Cowboys and got that right, which is always a little bit more helpful as well, if you will. In terms of how the Rabbitohs played, I thought they were really good in that first half. I think, they only scored the 1 try and actually technically scored most of their tries in the second half. But I think they just attacked to a higher standard in the first half. I liked the way they were going about their footy. And in the second half, they weren't poor. I think the Cowboys were just a far better side in the second half, and that's what got them the win. I thought, stand-up players-wise, Latrell Mitchell, I thought he's going to make a bloody fine 5/8 once Walker retires. I'd still probably keep him in the centres this year or, do the thing that we've talked about with him sort of switching between fullback and centre with Jai Gray in attacking ball and defensive ball and whatnot when Walker comes back. But for now, keep him at 5/8. I really liked his ball playing. That's always been a highlight of his game, and it was very much on display in this one. He had heaps of good balls, including the soft hands to put Ewan Aitken over, but there was a few other ones before that and after that as well. But his kicking game is amazing. It's so underrated. It's obviously something we don't see much from the times he's played center and fullback. You see it every now and then, but in this one, consistently seeing it. He was the dominant kicker in this one, and far out, he was incredible. He has a bloody huge boot on him, whether it's a bomb or a punt, and he found the turf more often than not with it, which just gives his team more time to get down there and make that tackle. And the other thing was huge off the boot, but also he was pretty darn adept with the short, deft kicks as well. It was, I thought he was really good. I think he will make a fine 5/8 one day. I think 5/8 will actually end up being his position. I would be hesitant to do it now with Walker still around, but in a year's time when Walker retires, I'd probably just move him there because that means you get to keep Jai Gray, who's still, to my knowledge, the current Dally M leader at fullback. So I thought he was great, Latrell Mitchell, but I do think in that second half he did fail to insert himself. You can say that he came up with that run and offload for Jai Gray to score, which he did, and that was good stuff from him. But that was 71 minutes into the contest. Like, there was 9 minutes left of the game at that point, and they were chasing points. I think he needed to insert himself just sooner. And it's not all on Latrell Mitchell, but when he's the superstar playing the way he was playing, which was bloody darn good, I wanted him out there just trying to make stuff happen a bit more regularly than he was in that second half. So, I just thought he just needed to insert himself a little bit sooner than he actually did. It's not necessarily his fault that they lost the game, but when you're the superstar, you're the one who has to try and make those plays. Anyway, still a good game from Latrell Mitchell. Jai Gray, we'll just wrap him up into that conversation. We already mentioned if Latrell, the key to keeping Jai Gray at fullback is moving Latrell to 5/8. And I think it has to be done. Maybe not this year, because I still think Cody Walker and Jamie Humphries are the best halves combo at the moment when they're both fit and healthy. But you simply can't move Jai Gray out of fullback, whether it's a full game's worth there, or as I said, do the whole centre and fullback shift between Latrell and Jai Gray and attacking ball. He's just so damn good. You'd think he'd be a spot, for teams to target with the bombs and with kicks because of his height, but he is safe as bloody houses at the back, and the work he gets through just cannot be matched by any other player. Let's have a look. I guarantee it's 237 meters from Jai Gray. And another try to boot. I know it was at the end of the game, but he's just always popping up. And we've said it time and time again. You get through the hard work, you get rewarded with tries, and he was again in this one. You can't move him out of that position. He's so damn good. In terms of other standouts for the Bunnies, Ewan Aitken, I liked him back in the centres. Jack White, and as I said, his defense was quite good. Jai Arrow, I thought was really good. Looked like he'd injured himself and was going to come off for a while there, but he played through that. 9 runs, 111 metres, 3 tackle breaks, 35 tackles, 2 missed, and a try. Thought he was really, really good out there. But besides that, again, maybe not too many standout players, just a solid overall performance. I thought they let down in a few effort areas. There's one of the Jackson Purdue tries where he's sort of crabbing across field, and I could see it before it even done it. Like, there was a yawning gap between Sean Keppie and Lachlan Hubner. Hubner was sort of up way too far, feet planted, just very lethargic, probably tired. I assume he would have been tired because he works hard, Lachlan Hubner. And I'm pretty sure the sun was in his eyes, but the gap between him and Sean Keppie was huge, and they never closed that. Like, Purdue could have ran through it 3 seconds before he ended up doing it. I think even he, like I, assumed that gap was going to close. So he just sort of kept crabbing across field. Those players just didn't move. They had their feet completely planted, and Purdue with his speed just went through that gap untouched. And effort areas like that are really disappointing to see, especially from a player like Hubner, who has essentially prided his game on effort areas. Keppie, he has those lapses of judgment in him. He's going to need to fix those. He's has a really good game in him, then a pretty poor game in Sean Keppie. But yeah, just wanted to highlight that play while we're there. For the Cowboys, though, let's talk about them for a bit. I thought they were really good in this one. I thought Reece Robson was the absolute star of the show in this one. I thought, last week we mentioned him as having a pretty poor game, in my opinion. I hadn't seen enough from him. He must have heard those doubts and concerns, because in this game he was incredible. He just yeah, such an improved game. His running game was out of this world, to be honest. He also came out with that little kick from dummy half for, I think it was McIntyre to score. So he's got a try assist to his name, but for me, it's the 9 runs, 135 metres. That's the real thing there. 1 line break, 1 try assist, 3 tackle breaks. Played the full 80, 41 tackles as well. I thought he was incredible, Reece Robson. So they're going to need those games out of their spine, and the big thing about this was their entire spine played really well. Jack Clifford being the man that didn't really stand out, but when you've got a spine of Drinkwater, Dearden, and Robson, you don't need Clifford to stand out the same way that Hugo Savala does. And there are other games that Clifford comes out and plays really, really well. And as I said, I don't think he was poor in this one at all. I just thought that the other 3 spine members had their moments. Scotty Drinkwater, 23 runs, 183 metres from him, 1 line break assist, 7 tackle breaks. Almost scored that try as well, but he just kept creating out there. And Tom Dearden, the big thing about him was his defense in this game. I thought he was absolutely huge, and he essentially won the game on the back of his defense. He's got one of the best tackling techniques in the NRL, just hits them right under the ball, right into your sort of midsection, and drives you back. And because you're hitting there, you're essentially hitting the point of the ball with your shoulder. And he forced 2, I think it might have been like 3 or 4 errors purely off the back of his tackle technique and just hitting them and sticking. He's such a good defender, one of the best defenders, one of the best defensive halves in the NRL. He genuinely, there's an argument to be made, he won the game on the back of his defense. I thought he was incredible. 21 tackles, 1 missed tackle. And as I said, forced heaps of errors. So Tom Dearden, as I said, good in attack as well. Had his moments in creating the attack, but his defense was the big one for me. And the other massive one that I wanted to mention, Jason Taumalolo. 48 minutes, so not massive. I'd still want him to be playing 50, but this is around that 50 mark. I'd want more out of him when it comes to close to finals time, but 48's fine for now. 17 runs, 205 metres. There's no line breaks in that. There's a try assist that he got to Purdue, which was cool. 1 tackle break and all of that. That is just hard yakka. He did have a couple of, just sort of lazy, unforced errors, but 48 minutes, 205 metres from Jason Taumalolo. That's what we want to see from him, and that's what we know we can still get from him. He's a superhuman, and if they are to make a run to the finals or whatnot, it's going to be a hard effort from where they started, but I think they've got the squad to do that. It's going to be on the back of efforts from their star players and Taumalolo in this one. Beyond that, Ruben Cotter, good, 10 runs, 113 metres, 42 tackles. Sam McIntyre played 60 minutes in the second row in this one, scored a try, 12 runs, 108 metres. I like the work he does. And once again, I thought their bench was really good. I'm loving Jeremiah Nanai off the bench. Obviously, you want him in the starting side soon, but for now, I think it's the real kick up the arse that he's needed, and he's playing some really good footy on the back of that. Cohen Hess, really good. Harrison Edwards had his best game of the season by far. 8 runs for 88 metres from him off the bench in 22 minutes. And Griffin Neame, who always just 10 runs, 123 metres. Really, really like the work of Griffin Neame. So yeah, really, really good game from the Cowboys in this one. I think this was one of my favourite games of the round. Yes, there was the hip drop tackle that took a bit out of this game, and it didn't ruin it for me, but it was a huge momentum swing. But I enjoyed the way that these two teams played. They both played tough, and they both played a bit expansive, and it just made for an enjoyable game. The Rabbitohs, the losers, but with everyone that they're missing at the moment and how they played in general, I don't think they were poor at all. The Cowboys, they were really good. Oh, before I get off it, Jackson Purdue, again, almost missed him. 13 runs, 134 metres, 2 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 2 tackle breaks, 2 tries. I can't believe that people were writing this guy off. This 19-year-old off after 2 games where he had to match up against bloody Homole Olakau'atu and some other behemoth. And yeah, he missed a few tackles. Wouldn't we all? I'm bigger. Oh, I'm probably not taller than him, but I'm certainly bigger than Jackson Purdue. I'm getting flatlined by bloody Homole Olakau'atu. You're getting up this 19-year-old kid for missing those tackles. Nobody saw, well, not nobody, but like what I was saying back then in those early podcasts and now is he goes. He's an absolute goer. He just keeps he misses all those tackles, and then there's a line break, and who's the man chasing them to the death? It's Jackson Purdue. He works so hard. He's still so young. To the people who are writing him off, this is the player he has always been, and we maintain that from the very outset of the season, from the preseason, from last season we were saying this. Massive fan of Jackson Purdue, and I'm so glad that he's now getting the love he deserves, because, I thought the people writing him off after those first 2 games were, just a bit crazy there. But let's move on to the Eels versus Raiders. These last 3 games, again, I'm going to spend less time on because I've gone overtime again, but also because there's not much to say. For the Eels and the Raiders won 50-12. Let's start on the Eels. What can you say? Their defense is just paper thin. You can go out and say it's the coach. You can go out and say it's their signings or whatever you want to say. In reality, you cannot coach heart, and the Eels are not playing with any heart. They're just rolling over at the first sign of trouble and letting teams walk over them. And, it's weird because they can have those games like they did against the Dragons. And, there were games in there where they were still losing, but they were showing a little bit. Then you get games like this, and they started well. Dylan Brown scored in the 13th minute. They were on equal footing there, and it all just capitulated. And I don't really know what the answer is for the Eels. There's not much more that can be said about them. We'll get to the Raiders. They were unbelievable in this game, but it's just, the Eels. Let's just go and see the missed tackles, for instance. I'm just going to read out missed tackles across the board. 5 missed tackles from Iongi, 2 from Adokar, none from Penasini, 1 from Russell, 3 from Brown, 7 missed tackles from Hawkins, 2 from Offa Hengawi, 4 from Riley Smith, 5 from Junior Paolo, 5 from Sean Lane, 1 from Katonga, who actually made 42 tackles, which is a bit weird because of all the second rowers and whatnot. If I had to take a guess on who was making 42 tackles for 1 miss in a game where you got rolled by 50, respectfully, Katonga wasn't going to be my answer. I thought he was more of an upside player, but 1 miss from him, 1 miss from Hopgood, 1 miss from Walker, 1 miss from Moretti, 4 from Guymat, 2 from Simonson, and 1 from Madison. So the only player who didn't miss a tackle was Will Penasini in the entire team. They couldn't do anything out there. Their defense, as I said, is paper thin. They're not showing heart. They're not showing pride in the jersey, and they're just suffering results like this on the back of it. I don't want to say, we'll look at standout players. Adokar scored a try. He ran 13 times for 133 metres. That was cool. Penasini, as I said, didn't miss a tackle, had 16 runs for 168 metres. That's pretty darn good from Penasini in an effort like this. And Simonson in his return, 19 runs, 197 metres from him as well. Thought he was quite good. But besides that, there's not much to say. For instance, Junior Paolo, last week he made our team of the week. 19 runs, 190 metres he made. This week, 4 runs, 46 metres and 5 missed tackles. Hello? What are we doing? I'm a huge Junior Paolo fan, and I just, what's going on there? Kidione Katonga, as we said, we just mentioned his defense, played the full 80, 12 runs for 97 metres. I thought he was solid out there as well. But besides that, there's just, I'm sorry, Eels fans, what do you want me to say? You're playing with a lack of heart. You're playing with a lack of, as I said, pride in the jersey and pride for the man alongside you. That's the big thing that I've always been, I've played footy. I haven't played footy at a massive high level. I've played footy all my life, and the times that you're getting rolled, what gets you inspired to come back out, at least in the second half, or to come back in the next season? It's your coach telling you, fucking don't do it for yourselves. Do it for the man next to you. Do it for the brothers that you go out there and go to war with each time you're on a footy field. If you're going to sit here and sulk, you're letting them down. And for me, and for the times I've played footy and the men that I've played alongside and the boys I play alongside in my junior grades, that's what's got you up for it. Saying, I'm not doing this for myself. This is bigger than me. This is for this club. This is for the boys that I, go and die for and play footy with. This is for them. And the Eels aren't even doing that at a high click in the NRL. And the Raiders, they're a bloody good footy side this year. they're not a side that should be putting 50 points on the Eels. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it there in my Eels chat, and we'll talk a little bit about the Raiders here because I don't want to sound too negative, but yeah, it's just very, very disappointing from the Parramatta Eels at the moment. For the Canberra Raiders, complete opposite end of the spectrum. They were excellent. This is a team that we've always talked about being very gritty, and they are. They still have that DNA. They still get you down to their level and say, go with us now. But what we're seeing from them this season is they don't have to. If they know that they're the better side, they're going to attack you all day long. You know, they flogged the Warriors in round 1. They flogged the Broncos in round 2. Couple of, lean weeks there, but here they are, 50 points from a Raiders side. I cannot tell you the last time I remember a Raiders team scoring 50 points. It's probably, maybe they didn't like that 2016 era. I don't even think they did in their 2019 era. Their 2016 era, maybe they did. Maybe 2013, I feel like they did with Jared Croker and that. I don't know. But 50 points is an amazing, amazing effort. Every single player played well. Like, I can't really go through all of them. For me, the best player out there was Joseph Tarpany. He's one of the best front rowers, one of the best forwards in the comp. 18 runs, 205 metres, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 1 try. His offloads were incredible. It says he only has 1, but I can assure you he had more. He was just... yeah, he's fantastic. Hudson Young, another double, 14 runs, 156 metres, 1 line break, 2 tries, 6 tackle breaks. I can go through every player here. I don't know what else to say. It's an amazing performance from the Raiders. Their back 5 are doing great things, and they're all on peanuts when you consider the other, the other outside backs out there in the competition. These guys would probably be reserve graders at a lot of other clubs. But here they are in this Raiders system, and they're superstars. Savage, 11 runs for 158 metres, 1 line break, 1 try. Sebastian Chris, 16 runs, 166 metres, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 1 try. Matt Timoko, 14 runs, 142 metres, 1 try, 6 tackle breaks. Savelio Tamale, the only man who didn't score, and funnily enough, the man I had in my bet, 15 runs, 142 metres, still getting through his work. And KO Weeks had one of his better performances of the season with 132 metres and a line break assist and a try assist as well, and 8 tackle breaks. I can go through their forward pack as well. There's one thing reading stats, Papali'i ran 14 times for 141 metres. Matty Nicholson 15 times 136. Corey Horsburgh 20 times 216. But you get the gist. They were dominant across the park. Their outside backs, they dug in. Their forward pack, they were incredibly gritty and strong and offloaded and had attack. And their halves played exactly how you need from them. Ethan Strange scored his first try since a year. He also had a line break assist, and a try assist in 93 metres. Jamal Fogarty just doing what he does. You can't go through every player, but every single player was fantastic. You could almost do the entire team of the week this week with just Raiders players. They were exceptional across the board, and they're a top 8 side this year. I don't see a world where they're not a top 8 side. This is them. They've showed that DNA. Yeah, maybe I've spent a little bit less time than they deserve. A team wins 50. You're probably sitting here waiting for me to talk the ins and outs of it. But what can you say? They were perfect. They were a near perfect footy side. If you want to say blemishes, a bit softer than that Dylan Brown try very early into the game, but that clicked them into gear. From then on, they never looked like they were losing. They were a perfect footy side, and if me saying that they were a perfect footy side isn't enough for you, fair enough. I wish I could talk more, but I can't spend this time to talk about every single individual player and everything that they did. They were just exceptional. They were exceptional, and they're going to give every team in the comp a shake, and they're going to give the top 8 a shake, and I love what they're doing. Always got a soft spot for the Raiders, so massive, massive game from them. Let's move over to the Storm and the Warriors, and we're actually going to spend even less time on this game. The Storm, they show what they're all about again. 42-14, they beat the Warriors. It was 36-0 at half time in this one. And as a Warriors fan, I thought this was going to be one of the darkest days in the club's history. We were just getting rolled in every essence of the word, which has happened to multiple sides this year. So I wasn't like the most disappointed that I'd ever been, because I'm like, well, at least it's the Storm. Like, they do this to everyone, which unfortunately is almost all I've got to say. It's the Storm. They have done this to everyone this season but the Dragons on a rainy day that suited the Dragons. But against everyone else, the Storm are just head and shoulders. Fuck, they're an entire body length above the rest of the competition. The Warriors scored all three of their tries in the second half. I won't say that Storm put the Q in the rack. It wasn't like last week where they took all their players off. Jerome Hughes did come off with a shoulder injury, I believe it was, or an elbow injury. But they still left the rest of the guys on. They still had a bit of attack. They only scored the one try in that second half, but they still had numerous attacking raids. And the only positive I can find in the Warriors is defensively in that second half, they were a lot better, shockingly. Because the Storm, they weren't playing as high of a click, but they weren't playing bad at all. They were still playing a good brand of footy in that second half, and the Warriors won the second half 3-1. In fairness, the Luke Metcalf try in the 79th minute was a bit junk time. You could even argue the Rocco Berry one was junk time at 74th minute, but the Lika Halasima one was good. Aaron Clark, I thought, was unreal. He had an absolute crack for the Warriors, but besides that, well, I don't know what else you can really say. I don't even think anyone was like exceptionally poor. Like, there were poor games, but poor performances, I should say. But fucking hell, man, this Sharks side, this Storm side, what the hell can you do when they get on a roll on like that? You can't stop them. So, yeah, as I said, where's Aaron Clark? 16 runs, 144 metres in only 42 minutes. I thought he was really, really good. 5 tackle breaks, 31 tackles, 1 missed. Mitch Barnett, he had a solid game, played 61 in this one. James Fisher-Harris did come off injured with a pec injury. Looks like he's going to miss a few weeks in this after this one. I say a few, could be a lot. It's never a fun injury, the old pec injury. So it meant more minutes for Barnett, who tried to stand up but really couldn't. Buddy Afora, I thought was good. I love his running and I love more minutes than him. Jackson Ford had some errors again, but ran well. And as I said, these young fellas, Baimunga and Halasima, when they got their shot in that second half in particular, I won't say swung momentum, but it was a big momentum shift. But that's sort of all the positives you can really say. Like, they lost 42-14 and they were down 36-0 at halftime. The Storm, however, there's also maybe even less to say about the Storm. They're just too good. Every single compliment I can give them, I already have. Pappenhausen, exceptional, with 7 from 7 conversions, 18 runs, 130 metres, 2 line break assists, 1 try assist. Grant Anderson doing great stuff again, scoring another try, 130 metres. Xavier Coates, 15 runs, 230 metres, 2 tries, 3 line breaks, 2 try assists. What is there to say about the Melbourne Storm? If they don't win a premiership this year, it's going to be one of the biggest missed premierships of all time. They're just the best. They're so far above everyone else. There's nothing more you can say. There's probably, players in this side I haven't even mentioned, Cameron Munster doing his usual things. Harry Grant, I thought, was really good, having his best game of the season. Scored a try, had a try assist and a line break assist, 86 metres from 10 runs, 36 tackles. Did miss 7. Far out, Harry. Pull your head in, mate. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. They're the best team in the comp. If I go and say, Cameron Munster's in the best form of his career, I'm repeating what I said last week. I'm repeating what I said the week before that. If I say the same about Pappenhausen, if I say it about any of these players, I'm just repeating what I've already said. I will say Josh King, I thought, was terrific for the Storm, and he has been since he got signed. But last year, we included him I think he was in our bronze team of the year for front row, which made him, in my opinion, a top 6 front rower in the game of last year. I still think he is, and he's not getting, he never will get the appreciation he deserves. because of the way he goes about his footy. But 13 runs, 117 metres, one line break assist, one try assist, one try, and 29 tackles from Josh King. Like, he does. I love the way that this Storm side is set up. They've got Stefano partnered with Josh King, so you've got a bit of impact, and then the hard work of King. You've got Blore and Katoa, who are incredible. Katoa as well, 20 runs, 170 metres. Fuck me dead. I like Trent Liero at lock. He scored a nice try in this one. Coming off I think it was a Sean Blore offload. It was a really silky try. And I like their bench players, and they're still doing this without Nelson Asafa Solomona. So, like, it's just one of the best teams out there. You know, as I said, the Warriors had better second half. It coincided with the fact that Hughes didn't play the second half. And as I said, I won't say that Storm put the Q in the rack because they were still attacking. They were still playing good footy. But it wasn't nearly like that. They already knew that they'd won the game. So that's the only solace I can find in the Warriors' performance. But yeah, the Storm are just incredible. And unfortunately, that's all I've got to say because otherwise I'm just rehashing what I already have. There are other podcasts out there that are going to talk about them as well. Give them a listen. But yeah, just what can you say? They're the best team in the comp by a country mile. Let's get into the last game of the round. The Knights went down to the West Tigers 20-4. Should have been 20-0. The Knights scored a junk time try of all junk time tries, with Fletcher Sharp scoring in the last second of the game off, I think it was a kick and then rebound into Fletcher's hands and whatnot. The Tigers, they should have, for the fourth time they would have said, I think it was, in the club's history, they should have won this game to 0. They should have kept the team to 0. They didn't. It's not necessarily a blight on them. As I said, junk time, just a bit of scrappy play leads to a try. The Tigers went to Newcastle, which is a bloody hard spot to go to because the Novocastrians get around their club, and they put in a fantastic performance. I love the way that they're playing their footy. They've got so much energy, so much passion, and yet it's not a clinical brand of footy. Like, they're still doing things a bit unorthodox, if you will. But they're making it work, and they're making it work in an entertaining way. And considering, what they've gone through in the past few years, just getting wins in general is more than enough. But they're playing a really attractive brand of footy. Like Adam Dewey missed 3 goals in this one. It could have been 26-0. I love the way that they're playing. I really do. The stuff with Dane Gagai sin bin was a bit interesting. I don't think Gagai should have been sin binned. I don't think Toa should have been either. But if you were going to sin bin someone, it probably should have been Toa. But somehow they both got sin binned. I don't know. I don't really care. Didn't make a difference on the game. Just, yeah, the Tigers, they're at a really good part of their progression, and they've still got so much more in them. Like, this is the first year for most of their side, Terrell May and Taruva and Luai and whatnot. They've got so much growth in them. A lot of these players aren't even hitting their primes yet. Lockie Galvin, and I'd argue Jerome Luai's probably still got his prime ahead of him. Terrell May's not even at his prime, and he's the best front rower in the comp. That isn't Payne Haas. Like, there's so much to this Dragons, to this Tigers side, and I love the way that they're playing their footy. As I said, it's unorthodox. It might not work against all sides. They will have their errors, and they will run themselves out of space multiple times, but they're winning games, and they're winning games in an entertaining way. And also, the big thing is their defense. They should have kept the Knights to 0. Besides, was it the Warriors game? Let me go back through their results. So they versed the Knights in round 1, which also, let's talk about the NRL draw. Why the hell are we having teams verse each other twice already in 6 rounds? Like, who's the other one? The Broncos and Roosters also have now versed each other twice. So round 1, the Knights won 10-8. They only conceded 10 points. The Tigers only conceded 10 points in that one. They then only conceded 6 points to the Eels when they won 32-6. They then only conceded 18 points to the Dolphins, which, as I said, the Dolphins are a bloody good footy side. So that's not the end of the world. They then lost, was it 26 points they conceded to the Warriors, who's probably the biggest test that they've had this season. Maybe the Dolphins are, but I'd argue the Warriors are probably in the same level as the Dolphins. And then last week they did concede 46 to the Broncos. That one is their biggest blight. That's the biggest test that they had this season. But again, the scoreline doesn't reflect where they were in that game. And in this game, they're conceding, as I said, it should have been 0. It should have been to 0. And to me, I'm going to read it that way. They're just a bloody good footy side. And I don't know if they'll make top 8, but it might be another season where the world balances itself out and they finish the season in 9th where they belong. But in the coming years, far out, they are going to be a team to be very afraid of. Hell, I'm convinced this year they already are. In terms of standouts, Dream Bullard, his best game of the season, in my opinion. 20 runs, 174 metres, and he scored a try. I believe the try was his own little, he put a kick through and chased it himself. He's got great speed, Dream Bullard. He chased that one down and scored that. Dewey was really good. Skelton didn't finish the game, only 48 minutes, and still ran the ball 14 times for 140 metres. Lockie Galvin, 23 runs, 198 metres, top to the metre count. He loves having his hand on the footy. So we talked about Nathan Cleary's receipts earlier with 80. What was only 56 receipts of the footy for Galvin in this one, but still, I say only 56 is a bloody good knock. And as I said, just loves running the ball. Came up with a line break and try assist as well. Luai was really good. Carl May, 70 minutes at front row, 21 runs, 192 metres. 4 tackle breaks, 5 offloads, 31 tackles, 0 missed. Appy Coruscant was excellent. Fanua Pole was excellent. 15 runs, 184 metres from him. Their team was great. And then, as I said, defensively, it's not just they kept the team to 0, they were good in defence. No, their scramble was excellent. Their, ferocity was huge. There's a hit that Samuel Afinu hits Phoenix Crossland with and just absolutely poleaxes him. And then Safe Half is roaring. The boys are up in arms. It's just, I love the way that the Tigers are playing their footy. They're one of those teams that now I look forward to their games each and every week, which obviously in weeks prior, that was never the case because, they would lose every week. But they're so far beyond that. They're just such a good footy side. In terms of the Knights, I feel like I've covered the Tigers enough here. The Knights, incredibly poor game. To do that at home is just, it's almost unacceptable when you've got a full crowd there to support you of 30,000, was it? 25,000? 26,000 people there. To not score a try until the final second of play with Fletcher Sharp scoring sort of just a rebound try. Yeah, just not good enough. In terms of standout players, I thought Marju was good. I liked the effort he got through, as he always does. 184 metres, 5 tackle breaks. He had a couple of errors in this one. 4 errors it actually was. More than I remember, but at least he tried. I mean, their back 5 had moments of trying. I don't think they stopped trying, but their attack just doesn't exist. Crossland didn't offer anything in the halfback role. I think it's, in fairness, that's not a blight on Crossland. I don't think he's a halfback anymore. You've made that switch of turning him into a hooker. Why the hell would you move him back to halfback? Put Hastings in there for a week if you have to. I don't think Hastings is a bad footy player in the first place. But yeah, they didn't have a game plan. They didn't play high completions. They didn't have anything go for them. Their forward pack isn't up to scratch, which we've known for a while now. And they went up against the Tigers side that their forward pack is quickly becoming one of the better ones in the competition. The only forward that ran over 100 metres for the Knights is Kai Pearce-Paul, who I thought actually was pretty threatening out there. It was really hard to contain, but besides that, really nothing of note. Shout out Tyrone Thompson, the twin brother of Leo, who started the game in this one, but more importantly, just made his NRL debut. So massive congratulations there. Also, I think it was Matty Arthur's Knights debut as well in this one. But unfortunately, not much to really say. Kalen Ponga, stats-wise, it reads well, but I hardly noticed him in this game. 18 runs, 169 metres he had. I just feel like he couldn't impose himself. And in fairness, as I said, the Knights forwards weren't winning the ruck. They weren't winning that battle in the middle. And yeah, you can't do a whole lot without that. And if that's the case, you need your halves to take control and kick to corners and back your defense in and just win field position. And I don't think they had the halves to do that. Fletcher Sharp, he's to me still a fullback. I know he's a half growing up and he's a great 5'8". To me, he's still a fullback and he doesn't have the kicking game necessarily to be able to do that. Phoenix Crossland he's a hooker now or a utility now. He doesn't have that in him anymore. They picked the wrong side for this clash. I know it's sort of what they had left. They're missing a few players, which we've always talked about. Their depth isn't good enough this season. This really showed it. But regardless, you've still got enough strike power in your footy side to score points, and they really just didn't. So very, very, very disappointing game from the Knights, and that one will wrap us up. We've gone well and truly over time once again, but once again, I will thank you all for joining me along the way. If you have listened this far into the podcast, bring me a message on the Chip and Chase podcast Instagram page. If you're not already following, go and do so. We have so much more content over there. Swing me a message, and I might give you a little bit of a reward for sticking around this long. But that'll wrap us up, guys. So thank you guys for tuning into this one, and I'll see you guys next time.